Nantucket is well known for its natural open spaces, as well as its resplendent gardens and lawns. Artists and photographers join tourists from around the world, flocking to our shores to capture the beauty of this special island. However, the lush lawns and impressive gardens can come at a cost to our natural world and environment. Because we are an island with primarily sandy soils, how we care for our lawns and gardens has a direct effect on our coastal waters, harbors, ponds, and streams. The heavily fertilized emerald green lawns that are standard features of manicured landscapes in other parts of the country don't often translate well to the Nantucket environment. To protect our fragile resources and prevent contamination, it's critical for all of us, year-round and seasonal Nantucketers alike, to follow guidelines for everyday living, landscape practices, and fertilizer use to reduce the leaching of nutrients into our waters. Coming together to understand and apply best management practices, we can make a difference in the future of our island's health and well-being. Cormac Collier is Executive Director of the Nantucket Land Council, a nonprofit environmental organization that focuses on the island's water quality issues.
Fertilizer regulation is very important because the misuse of fertilizer essentially adds to the degradation of our water quality. The three main components of pollution in our water right now, in terms of nutrification, overloading of nutrients, is atmospheric stormwater, septic system runoff, and then also fertilizer use. So by attacking all those three, particularly fertilizer in this case, we can help reduce nitrogen and phosphorus from the fertilizer component from getting into our groundwater. Nantucket Island has a very unique sandy soil. Water filters right down. There's not a lot of organic matter to uptake some of the fertilizer nutrients. So what happens in a different community on the mainland in terms of a fertilizer strategy, application strategy, is definitely different from Nantucket Island. So although they are interchangeable in terms of trying to reduce nutrient, that's the overall goal, what works on the mainland sometimes will definitely still have a detrimental effect to the island. So what our best management practices document and the regulations focus on were these types of soils, these types of weather conditions, and basically essentially living out on an island.
All of us as islanders have to be aware of the need to protect our clean water supply. By understanding how what we do affects the quality and quantity of our water, we can take steps to ensure that future generations will have drinking water and clean, healthy ponds and harbors. Groundwater is the single source of drinking water on Nantucket. It is also the principal source of fresh water for home, business, and agriculture use. There is no nearby alternative drinking water supply if our aquifer becomes contaminated. Because of this, Nantucket has been designated a sole source aquifer by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. It's important to understand that each of us lives in a watershed. A watershed is an area of land where water flows from high elevations to low elevations, eventually making its way to a pond or harbor. Water may flow as surface runoff, streams, or seep into the soil and flow as groundwater. Since groundwater eventually discharges to a pond or harbor, it has tremendous influence on water levels in ponds and water quality in ponds and harbors. Responsibility for overseeing the town of Nantucket's water quality monitoring program is the Natural Resources Department. Leading this effort is Jeff Carlson, Natural Resources Coordinator.
The fertilizer program by the town of Nantucket is essentially set up through Board of Health regulations that were crafted over the last few years and implemented for the first time in 2012. And as a part of those regulations, the town created what we call the Article 68 Best Management Practices for Fertilizer. And they published this booklet here. This is just the BMP, and it's about a 60 to 70 page document that discusses the proper application of fertilizer, timing of application, types of fertilizer that can and cannot be used for essentially commercial landscapers, but it's also a great guide for homeowners to know what they should be asking landscapers, what they should be doing, and it also sets up our ability to commercially license applicators and to be sure they can get the education they need to properly apply fertilizer on Nantucket.
In 2012, the town of Nantucket formally adopted fertilizer regulations that specifically limit the type, quantity, and timing of fertilizer application here on Nantucket. This was a milestone in an effort by the entire community to begin an educational and enforcement program which will hopefully have a measurable impact on reducing water quality degradation. The regulations were an outgrowth of a group comprised of a broad segment of the community known as the Article 68 Fertilizer Committee. A leader of that town committee was Dr. Ernie Steinauer of Mass Audubon and chairman of the Conservation Commission.
The Article 68 work group got a lot of professional help from the UMass Extension Service, scientists at Cornell, scientists at the University of Connecticut, that really aided in our process of understanding how our soils work, how fertilizers work in our soil. And that was very important in bringing the committee to consensus on what our best management practices should be.
Among the island landscape professionals involved in developing the regulations and abiding by them in the field is John Weisentanner, president of Weisentanner, Inc. John offers advice on the importance of soil testing as a part of the best management practices.
The first thing you want to do is get your soil tested. Whether you're a homeowner, a professional, or anything else, you don't know what's going on in the ground by looking at it, by smelling it, by tasting it, anything else. A soil test will give you a basic outline of what your soil holds, nutrient-wise, what it's lacking, and what you can add to it to bring it up to be that sort of that perfect soil, nutrient-wise. Real simple tests. Most of the state universities that have agricultural grants have a soil testing facility. University of Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, all have soil testing options. It's relatively inexpensive and simple to do. It's taking some core samples and sending them to the university. In short time, you'll get results back, and it'll break down exactly how much nitrogen, how much phosphorus, how much potassium, and some of your micronutrients are in the soil. So you can know exactly what you need to add to that soil to give you the best medium for planting. Or if there's extremely high levels of something that you don't want to be adding. Getting back to the phosphorus, if you've put compost on your garden the past couple of years, chances are that that phosphorus is already at extremely high levels, and you really don't want to be adding any more because then you're just causing a pollution issue.
In order to make a difference, it will take all of Nantucket to protect our water quality. It can't be left up to the professional landscapers alone. Every Nantucketer's actions affect the water and environment around us. Here are some important things you can do to protect Nantucket. First, make sure your lawn and garden is managed according to the Nantucket Best Management Practices. Controlling your fertilizer applications will reduce nutrient leaching. Second, unless a soil test indicates otherwise, use phosphorus-free fertilizers and apply them only between April 15th and October 15th. Third, incorporate drought-tolerant native plants to reduce fertilizer and water use. Finally, speak with your friends and neighbors and encourage them to learn more about the best management practices. It all adds up to better water quality, and that means water that is fun and safe to swim in, live by, and enjoy.